Let's be honest. You are being manipulated every single day. The world is not a fair place. It is a chessboard, and you have been playing without knowing the rules. The friendly coworker who subtly takes credit for your work, the charming partner who makes you question your own sanity, the leader who inspires loyalty through carefully manufactured fear. These are not random events. They are calculated moves in a game of psychological dominance. This book is not here to tell you the world is a nice place. It is here to hand you the rule book that has been kept secret from you. It will give you the vision to see the game, the armor to protect yourself, and the weapons to finally start playing to win. Psychological Chains: How to Keep People Under Your Spell, written and published by Stealth Psychology. Chapter 1. The Secret of Influence. Imagine you are standing in a crowded room, speaking with passion and conviction about an idea that matters deeply to you. You have the facts, you have the logic, and you have the solution. Yet as you speak, you see it, the subtle glaze in people's eyes, the polite but vacant nods, the slight shift in posture as their attention drifts away. Your words, no matter how true or brilliant, seem to float in the air and then vanish, leaving no impact. It feels as if you are speaking a language that no one else understands, a profoundly isolating and frustrating experience. Or perhaps you have been on the other side, finding yourself inexplicably drawn to someone's idea, agreeing to a plan or a request without fully understanding why. You felt a sense of connection, a feeling that they just got it, and you willingly followed their lead. This is the central problem that most people face, a fundamental disconnect between what they say and what others hear. We are taught to focus on the clarity of our message, the logic of our argument, and the strength of our evidence. But we consistently fail because we ignore the most critical element of all, the unspoken psychological needs of the person we are trying to reach. We transmit on a frequency that they are not tuned into, and then we wonder why there is only static. This leaves us feeling powerless, unheard, and perpetually on the outside of true influence. The transformative secret to unlocking profound influence is not to speak louder, argue harder, or present more data. It is to fundamentally shift your focus from your own message to the other person's hidden world. The solution is to become a master observer of unspoken needs. This is a powerful mindset that moves beyond the surface level of words and deciphers the silent, emotional language that truly drives human behavior. It is the ability to see what people want, what they fear, and what they value, even when they cannot articulate it themselves. Think of it as developing a form of psychological X-ray vision. While everyone else is interacting with the carefully constructed persona that people present to the world, you will learn to see the underlying architecture of their desires and insecurities. This is not a dark art of mind reading. It is a refined skill of paying deep attention. By adopting this perspective, you are liberated from the frustrating game of trying to push your agenda onto an unwilling audience. Instead, you learn to align your message so perfectly with their pre-existing needs that it feels less like persuasion and more like a welcome solution they have been waiting for. This makes your ideas not only heard but embraced, giving you an almost effortless power to guide and influence. To become a master observer of unspoken needs, you must internalize 3 core principles until they become a natural part of how you perceive the world. The first principle is to listen to the echo. Most people listen to words, but a master observer listens for what echoes behind the words. The echo is the recurring theme, the emotional undertone, or the central value that a person reveals over time. This works because people's core motivations are like a magnetic north. No matter what topic they are discussing, their language will consistently orient itself around that point. To practice this, you must learn to listen horizontally, across conversations, not just vertically, within one. Pay attention to the words they overuse, the metaphors they favor, and the topics they return to again and again. For example, if you notice that a coworker consistently talks about fairness, playing by the rules, and everyone doing their part, you can deduce that their core unspoken need is for justice and order. Another person might constantly talk about freedom, not being tied down, and keeping my options open, revealing a deep-seated need for autonomy. Once you identify this echo, you have found the key to their psychological operating system. Any suggestion you make that is framed in the language of fairness will resonate deeply with the first coworker, while a proposal framed in terms of freedom and flexibility will capture the attention of the second. The second principle is to decode the emotional signature. Every person has a unique emotional baseline and a pattern of how they react to stress, excitement, and conflict. Their emotional signature is the map of their sensitivities. This principle works because by understanding what triggers a person's emotional highs and lows, you can learn what they truly care about. People do not have strong emotional reactions to things that are unimportant to them. To apply this, become a student of emotional cause and effect. Observe what makes someone light up with genuine enthusiasm. Is it praise? Is it talking about a creative project? Is it solving a complex problem? This tells you what they value. Conversely, and perhaps more importantly, observe what makes them defensive, anxious, or withdrawn. Does a hint of criticism shut them down? Does discussing the future make them nervous? Does a lack of control make them irritable? These reactions are bright red flags pointing directly to their deepest insecurities and fears. For instance, if you see that your boss becomes visibly tense and dismissive anytime an employee questions their decision, you have decoded a crucial part of their signature. They have a deep-seated need to feel respected and in control. Armed with this knowledge, you know that challenging them directly will always fail. The only way to influence them is to present your ideas in a way that reinforces their sense of authority, not one that threatens it. The third principle is to identify the dominant question. Every person, deep down, is walking through life trying to answer a single, dominant, often unconscious question. For one person, that question might be, am I safe? For another, it could be, am I respected? For a third, am I loved? This dominant question is the central filter through which they process the world and every interaction within it. This concept is powerful because everything people do is, in some way, an attempt to get a positive answer to their question. Once you identify their question, you understand their ultimate motivation. To identify it, observe their behavior. The person whose question is, am I safe, will be cautious, risk-averse, and focused on security and stability. The person asking, am I respected, will be concerned with titles, status, public perception, and being acknowledged for their contributions. A manager whose dominant question is, am I respected, will be far more motivated by an award or a public thank you than by a private bonus. An employee asking, am I safe, will be more influenced by a conversation about long-term job security than one about a risky but exciting new venture. By aligning your communication to help them answer their dominant question in the affirmative, you connect with them on the deepest possible level, creating a powerful and almost unbreakable bond of influence. Now that you understand the secret to seeing into the minds of others, are you prepared to learn how to use that knowledge to actively shape their thoughts? What if you could build a bridge directly to their will, persuading them not just to listen, but to agree and to act? In the next chapter, we will explore the architecture of powerful persuasion. Remember to subscribe to Stealth Psychology, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 2. How to Persuade Anyone. Picture this. You are in a negotiation, trying to convince a potential business partner to agree to your terms. You have prepared meticulously. You have a presentation filled with compelling data, logical arguments, and a clear, undeniable return on their investment. You lay out your case with flawless precision, anticipating every possible objection with a well-reasoned answer. Yet, as you finish, they offer a polite smile and say, "Thank you for the detailed presentation. We'll have to think about it." You leave the room with a sinking feeling, knowing that "we'll think about it" is a gentle but firm rejection. You did everything right, but you failed completely. This scenario, in its many forms, is one of the most common and frustrating experiences in professional and personal life. It is the pain of having logic and truth on your side, yet still losing to a less logical but more compelling force. The core problem is that most of us approach persuasion like a mathematical proof, believing that if we assemble enough facts the other person's mind will have no choice but to surrender to our conclusion. We operate under the deeply flawed assumption that people are primarily rational beings. But the truth is, a fact has no power on its own. It is like a seed thrown onto barren rock. For a fact to grow into a belief, it must be planted in the fertile soil of the other person's emotions, values, and identity. Trying to persuade with logic alone is an amateur's game. It is a noble but naive strategy that consistently fails because it targets the wrong part of the brain. You can win the argument, but lose the person. The transformative solution is to stop trying to win arguments and start building bridges. You must embrace a powerful new framework, persuasion through association. The core idea is that you do not persuade people by directly challenging their beliefs with your own. Instead, you skillfully associate your idea with the powerful positive beliefs, values, and emotions that they already hold dear. It is a process of linking the new and unfamiliar, your idea, to the old and cherished, their identity. When you do this correctly, their mind doesn't see your idea as a threat to be resisted, but as a natural and welcome extension of who they already are. This approach is profoundly effective because it entirely bypasses their logical defenses and their ego-driven need to be right. You are not telling them they are wrong. You are showing them a new way to be even more right. This reframes persuasion from a battle of wills into an act of alignment. It is the key to making your ideas not just acceptable, but desirable. By mastering this, you gain the ability to make people want to agree with you, a power far greater than simply forcing them to concede. To become a master of persuasion through association, you must develop 3 key skills. The first is the art of rapport forging. Rapport is the creation of an unconscious feeling of trust and connection between you and another person. It is the essential lubricant for any persuasive interaction. Without it, even the best arguments will create friction. Rapport forging works because of the primal psychological principle of liking. We are infinitely more likely to be persuaded by people we know, like, and feel are similar to us. To forge rapport, you must move beyond the topic of conversation and connect with the person. One powerful technique is finding and exploring shared commonalities. This can be anything from a shared hobby, a mutual acquaintance, or having grown up in the same area. When you discover a commonality, pause your agenda and genuinely explore it. For example, if you see a photo of a sailboat on their desk and you also enjoy sailing, spend a few minutes talking about it. This is not wasted time. It is the most important work you can do. It sends a powerful subconscious signal. You are like me. You are safe. You are trustworthy. Another technique is authentic complimenting. Find something you genuinely admire about them, their insight on a topic, their work ethic, their office, and offer a sincere compliment. An authentic compliment makes a person feel seen and valued, which lowers their defenses and makes them more open to your message. The second skill is value mapping. This involves identifying a person's most deeply held values and then skillfully mapping your proposal directly onto those values. This is effective because it shows them how your idea helps them become a better version of themselves, according to their own definition. To do this, you must first be an excellent listener, paying close attention to words that reveal their priorities. Do they talk about family, legacy, impact, innovation, efficiency? These are clues to their value system. Once you have a hypothesis about their core value, you frame your argument accordingly. For instance, imagine you are trying to persuade your manager to approve a new software that will automate some tasks. Instead of focusing on your own benefit, less work for you, you map it to their likely values. If they value efficiency, you would say, this software will cut our project completion time by 20%, freeing up the team for higher value work. If they value innovation, you would say, adopting this new technology will position our team as forward-thinking leaders within the company. You are presenting the exact same idea, but framing it through the lens of what they care about most, making it almost irresistible. The third skill is identity affirmation. This is perhaps the most subtle and powerful technique of all. It involves framing your request in a way that affirms the other person's positive self-image. People have a powerful, often unconscious, need to act in a way that is consistent with how they see themselves or how they want to be seen. A skilled persuader leverages this by appealing to their desired identity. This works because agreeing with you becomes an act of reinforcing their own self-worth. For example, instead of saying, "Could you please donate to this cause?" you say, "I know you are a very generous person who cares deeply about our community, which is why I wanted to give you the opportunity to be part of this." You are not just asking for a donation, you are giving them a chance to prove that they are the generous person you have just described. To a boss you know prides themselves on being a mentor, you wouldn't say, "Can you help me with this?" You would say, "I'm really struggling with this problem, and I know you have a knack for seeing the big picture and guiding people. I was hoping I could get your expert perspective." This frames their assistance not as a chore, but as an expression of their identity as a wise mentor. By mastering these skills, you can build powerful bridges of association that allow your ideas to be welcomed, not resisted. You now know how to align with people's minds, but what about their hearts? What happens when logic and values are not enough, and the entire game is being played on the turbulent field of emotion? The next chapter will teach you how to master the most powerful force in human psychology. Remember to subscribe to Stealth Psychology, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 3. Playing with Emotions. Think about the last time you made a truly significant decision. Was it when you bought a car, accepted a job offer, or chose to enter into a relationship? Now, be honest with yourself. Was that decision driven purely by a logical analysis of facts and figures, or was it driven by a feeling? Perhaps it was the exhilarating feeling of freedom as you imagined driving that car, the feeling of pride and validation from that job offer, or the feeling of deep comfort and connection with that person. The truth that most people are unwilling to admit is that emotion is the engine of human action, while logic is merely the steering wheel we use to justify the path we were already emotionally compelled to take. This brings us to a dangerous and often painful reality. If you do not understand and control the emotional currents of an interaction, you are completely at the mercy of anyone who does. You have likely experienced this yourself. Perhaps you have been swayed by a sob story into giving more than you could afford, intimidated by a display of anger into backing down from a valid point, or seduced by excessive flattery into agreeing to something that was not in your best interest. This is the painful experience of having your own emotions weaponized against you. You feel played, foolish, and resentful. The core problem is that you are entering an emotional battlefield completely unarmed, unaware that a battle is even taking place. You are bringing a logical argument to a psychological war, a strategy that guarantees defeat. The transformative solution is to stop being a victim of emotional currents and to become a student of them. You must shift your perspective from experiencing emotions passively to understanding them strategically. This powerful mindset is what we will call emotional architecture. This is the art of understanding the underlying structure of human emotions, what triggers them, what amplifies them, and what directs them. It is about recognizing that emotions are not random, chaotic forces. They are predictable systems that follow specific rules. By learning these rules, you gain two critical abilities. First, you develop an unbreakable defense. You will be able to recognize when someone is attempting to deliberately trigger a specific emotion in you, such as guilt, fear, or pity, allowing you to observe the attempt without being affected by it. Second, you gain the ability to ethically and effectively influence the emotional state of others, to calm their fears, to inspire their hopes, and to create a positive emotional climate where productive conversations can take place. This is not about becoming a cold, unfeeling manipulator. It is about becoming emotionally intelligent, capable of navigating the most powerful force in human nature with skill and precision. It is the key to moving from being emotionally reactive to becoming emotionally strategic. To become a proficient emotional architect, you must master 3 foundational techniques. The first is known as emotional anchoring. An anchor is a specific stimulus, a word, a touch, a sound, or an image that you deliberately link to a specific emotional state. Once the anchor is set, you can trigger the emotion on command simply by deploying the stimulus. This works because the human brain is a massive association machine. It constantly creates connections between our internal feelings and our external experiences. To create an anchor, you must first help generate a peak emotional state in the other person. Then, at the very peak of that feeling, you apply your chosen anchor consistently. For example, if you are a leader and you want to anchor a feeling of team pride and success, you would tell a story that makes everyone feel a genuine surge of accomplishment. At the exact moment they are feeling that peak emotion, you might use a specific phrase like, "That's a true team victory," while making a unique hand gesture, like a fist pump. If you do this consistently over time, that phrase and that gesture will become anchored to the feeling of success. Later, before a difficult challenge, you can deploy the anchor, saying the phrase and making the gesture, to instantly trigger that powerful, positive emotional state in your team, boosting their confidence and morale. The second technique is state transference. This is the understanding that emotions are highly contagious. The emotional state you hold is not contained within you. It radiates outward and powerfully influences the people around you. A leader who is genuinely calm and confident in a crisis will, by their very presence, calm the anxieties of their team. A salesperson who is authentically enthusiastic about their product will transfer that enthusiasm to the customer. This works because of a sophisticated neurological system in our brains called mirror neurons. These neurons cause us to subconsciously mirror and then feel the emotions of the people we are interacting with. To use this technique effectively, you must become the master of your own internal state. Before entering an important interaction, you must deliberately cultivate the emotional state you wish to see in the other person. If you want them to be calm, you must first find your own center of calm. If you want them to be excited and optimistic, you must first connect with your own genuine excitement. For instance, before a public speech, a skilled speaker will spend a few minutes not just reviewing their notes, but actively generating feelings of confidence and passion within themselves. They know that the audience will not just hear their words, they will feel their emotional state. The third technique is emotional reframing. This is the art of changing the meaning of a situation, and in doing so, changing the emotional response to it. No event has any inherent meaning. We assign meaning to it based on our perspective or our frame. By skillfully changing the frame, you can change a negative emotion into a positive one. This is a cornerstone of cognitive therapy and a powerful tool of influence. This works because our emotions are a direct result of our interpretations. For example, a team member might make a costly mistake and be consumed by feelings of failure and shame. A poor manager might amplify this by criticizing them. An emotional architect would reframe the situation. They might say, "This wasn't a failure. This was an expensive lesson that has given us invaluable data on what not to do. We just paid for a masterclass in how to make our process stronger. Let's break down what we learned." By reframing the failure as a lesson, they transform the emotions of shame and fear into feelings of curiosity and determination. Similarly, you can reframe a problem as a challenge or a risk as an opportunity. Mastering this skill allows you to guide the emotional tone of any situation, turning obstacles into stepping stones. You have now learned to see and influence the powerful currents of human emotion. But what happens when you encounter someone whose mind is protected by strong walls of skepticism, logic, and resistance? How do you get past their defenses to plant an idea? The next chapter will teach you the art of breaking down psychological walls. Remember to subscribe to Stealth Psychology, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 4. Breaking Down Their Walls. Imagine you are standing before an ancient, impenetrable fortress. The walls are high, the gate is barred, and watchful guards stand on the ramparts, ready to repel any approach. This fortress is the mind of a skeptical, guarded, and resistant person. You have something of immense value to offer them, a brilliant idea that could solve their problems, a transformative solution that could change their life, a heartfelt connection that could bring them joy, but you simply cannot get inside. Every attempt you make is met with cold suspicion and immediate rejection. Your logical arguments, no matter how sound, bounce harmlessly off the stone walls. Your passionate appeals and genuine offers of help are ignored by the guards of their cynicism. You can shout all you want, but the person inside cannot, or more accurately, will not hear you. This is one of the most deeply frustrating and exhausting challenges in all of human interaction, dealing with a truly closed mind. Whether it is a cynical boss who has shot down every new idea for the past decade, a family member so stuck in their ways that they refuse to consider another perspective, or a potential partner with a formidable wall built around their heart, the result is always the same. You are left feeling drained, foolish, and completely powerless, your valuable message unheard and lost to the wind. The core problem is that most people, when faced with a psychological wall, instinctively try to use brute force. We bring out a battering ram of facts, a catapult of evidence, and a legion of arguments, trying to smash our way through their defenses. But this aggressive approach almost always fails, and in fact it is often counterproductive. It only makes the guards more vigilant, and the walls even stronger, because no one likes to have their fortress breached, and the ego will defend its territory at all costs. The transformative solution is to stop thinking like a warrior and start thinking like a master strategist, a psychological diplomat. You must embrace a powerful and elegant concept we will call the Trojan horse method. The legendary Greeks, after a decade of feudal, brutal warfare, did not conquer the impenetrable city of Troy with more force. They were willingly, even joyfully, invited inside. They understood a timeless principle of influence. The only way to get past an unbreakable wall is to hide your true intention inside a package that the other person desperately wants and will gladly bring through the gates themselves. In the realm of psychological influence, your idea is the hidden soldier, and the Trojan horse is the carefully constructed frame you build around it. You must learn to package your proposal inside something the other person already values, trusts, desires, or believes in. This completely and instantly changes the dynamic of the interaction. You are no longer an intruder trying to force your way in. You are a welcome guest bearing a valuable and much-desired gift. This method is profoundly effective because it entirely bypasses the ego and the natural human resistance to being changed or proven wrong. It allows the other person to accept your idea while still feeling in complete control, as if they were the ones who made the brilliant and independent decision to open the gate. This is the sophisticated art of having your idea not just accepted, but enthusiastically championed, without a single battle ever being fought. To successfully and ethically deploy the Trojan horse method, you must follow a three-step strategic process. The first step is to identify the gatekeeper. Every fortified mind has a vigilant gatekeeper. This is not a person, but the core belief, the deep-seated fear, or the dominant value that stands guard and decides what is allowed in and what is rejected. For one person, the gatekeeper might be a profound fear of change and the unknown. For another, it could be a cynical belief that everyone is ultimately selfish and trying to take advantage of them. For a third, it might be a powerful, ego-driven need to always be the smartest and most experienced person in the room. You cannot begin to build your horse until you know exactly what the gatekeeper is looking for. This requires you to deploy the deep listening and observation skills we have discussed previously. Observe their language, their reactions, and their recurring themes. Does your boss constantly talk about the bottom line, maximizing efficiency, and tangible results? Their gatekeeper is a deeply ingrained value for practical, measurable outcomes. Does your friend constantly recount stories of being betrayed or let down? Their gatekeeper is a powerful fear of being hurt again. You must understand this gatekeeper intimately, because it is the only one you need to please. The second step is to build the horse. This is the creative and strategic phase where you construct the perfect package for your idea. You must frame your proposal in a way that not only avoids threatening the gatekeeper, but actively appeals to it. Your idea should be presented not as something new, foreign, and threatening, but as something that reinforces and supports their existing worldview. For example, you want your risk-averse manager to approve an innovative but unproven new marketing strategy. You know their gatekeeper is a deep-seated fear of failure and wasting resources. A direct assault highlighting the exciting risks will fail spectacularly. Instead, you build a Trojan horse. You frame your idea not as a risk, but as a form of intelligent insurance. You might say, I've been analyzing the market trends, and I'm growing concerned that if we don't start experimenting with this new strategy on a very small, controlled scale, we risk being left behind by our competitors in the next 5 years. This small experiment isn't a gamble. It's actually the safest way to protect our future market share and inoculate ourselves against future irrelevance. You have skillfully hidden your risky idea inside an irresistible package of safety, protection, and risk management, which is the only language their gatekeeper understands. The third and final step is to offer the gift. The delivery of your Trojan horse is just as important as its construction. You must present it humbly, without a trace of ego, and as a genuine offering for their benefit. It should feel like you are helping them achieve their goals, not challenging their authority or intelligence. Use collaborative and respectful language that gives them ownership of the idea. Phrases like, building on your excellent point about efficiency, or, I had a thought that might be a small way to enhance the great work you're already doing, are incredibly effective. This allows them to accept the idea without feeling as if they are surrendering to your will. For instance, you want your proud and experienced mentor to consider a new perspective that contradicts their long-held beliefs. Instead of saying, I think your old method is outdated, you offer the gift. I've been learning so much from your framework, which is why I was so interested when I came across this new data. I was genuinely wondering how someone with your level of experience and insight would choose to integrate this information into your already successful approach. This respects their authority and invites them to open the gate, not to an attack, but to a new tool for their own arsenal. By mastering this 3-step method, you can bypass even the most formidable psychological walls and have your ideas welcomed with open arms. You now know how to get past someone's conscious defenses. But what about the more subtle, almost invisible tricks that manipulators use not just to persuade you, but to make you question the very fabric of your own mind? The next chapter delves into the world of sneaky mind tricks and how to become completely immune to them. Remember to subscribe to Stealth Psychology, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 5. Sneaky Mind Tricks. The most dangerous psychological attacks are never the ones you see coming. They are not the loud arguments, the overt threats, or the direct confrontations. The most dangerous attacks are the quiet suggestions, the subtle implications, and the carefully planted seeds of doubt that bypass your conscious defenses and begin to poison your confidence from the inside out. They are the sneaky mind tricks that skilled manipulators use to make you question your competence, your worth, and even your own sanity, often leaving you feeling worse about yourself without you ever being able to pinpoint exactly why. You have undoubtedly experienced this insidious process yourself. Perhaps you walked into a meeting feeling confident and prepared, but after a brief conversation with a particular coworker, you left feeling anxious and insecure. Maybe you had a discussion with a partner where you tried to express your feelings, but you ended up being the one who apologized, completely confused about how the tables were turned so completely and masterfully. This is the painful reality of being subjected to covert psychological warfare. The core problem is that these tricks are designed to be invisible. They are psychological stealth bombers, flying under the radar of your logical mind and targeting your subconscious emotions and beliefs directly. Because you cannot see the attack as it happens, you cannot raise your shields to defend against it. And you are left to deal with the confusing and damaging emotional aftermath all on your own, often blaming yourself for the turmoil. The transformative solution to this invisible threat is to develop a powerful mindset of mental inoculation. In medicine, a vaccine works by introducing a weakened or inactive version of a virus into your system. Your body's immune system learns to recognize the virus's unique pattern and builds up powerful specific antibodies, making you effectively immune to the real thing when you encounter it out in the world. You can and must apply this exact same principle to your psychological well-being. By learning to recognize the distinct patterns of these common mind viruses in low-stakes everyday situations, in movies, in books, in the behavior of others, you build up a powerful cognitive immunity. You learn their signature, their method of attack, and their intended emotional effect. This practice allows you to spot them instantly when they are deployed against you in a high-stakes environment. When you are mentally inoculated, a manipulator's sneaky trick is no longer an invisible threat that can infect your confidence. Instead, it becomes a predictable, almost boring pattern that you can observe with the detached curiosity of a scientist, completely unaffected by its intended venom. This is the absolute key to turning your mind from a vulnerable and undefended target into an impenetrable psychological fortress. To achieve mental inoculation, you must learn to identify 3 of the most common and sneaky mind tricks and their antidotes. The first is called the seed of doubt. This is a subtle but highly effective trick where a manipulator avoids direct criticism, which could be easily identified and deflected, and instead plants a small, negative suggestion and allows your own mind to do the destructive work. They give you the toxic seed, and you unknowingly water it with your own anxiety. This works because we tend to trust our own internal thoughts far more than we trust external accusations. For example, before you are about to give an important presentation, a manipulative colleague might say with a smile, "You look so prepared and confident." I could never do that. I'd be too worried about what the senior executives in the room are thinking about every little word I say. On the surface, this sounds like a compliment on your confidence. But what they have actually done is plant a powerful seed of doubt in your mind. Suddenly, you are no longer just thinking about delivering your presentation. You are hyper-aware of the senior executives, imagining their judgment, which erodes the very confidence you had just moments before. The antidote is immediate recognition and dismissal. The moment you recognize a seed of doubt has been offered, you must mentally label it as such. That was a seed of doubt, and consciously refuse to water it. You can do this by silently reaffirming your original confidence. I am prepared, and I will focus on my message, not on imaginary judgments. The second sneaky mind trick is the shifting goalpost. This is a frustrating tactic used to keep you perpetually off balance and constantly seeking the manipulator's approval. The manipulator sets a clear condition for success or approval. However, as soon as you meet that condition, they unilaterally change the rules of the game, adding a new and often more difficult requirement that you must now meet. This ensures that you never achieve a true sense of victory or validation, keeping you locked in a draining cycle of striving. Imagine your boss tells you, "Just finish this comprehensive report by Friday and you will have earned a relaxing weekend." You work tirelessly, sacrifice your evenings, and turn it in on time. Instead of the promised approval, they say, "This report is a good start, but now I need you to create a full presentation deck to go along with it, and I'll need that by Monday morning." The goalpost has shifted. The promise of rest has vanished, replaced by a new demand. The antidote here is to refuse to play the game. You can do this by calmly holding them to their original agreement. You might respond, "I'm glad the report is a good start. My understanding was that completing the report by today was the full task. I'm happy to discuss the presentation deck as a new task for next week, but I've made plans for this weekend based on our original agreement." This calmly and respectfully refuses to let them shift the goalpost. The third mind trick is the for your own good disguise. This is one of the most common forms of covert control, where criticism, control, and manipulation are cleverly disguised as care, concern, and helpful advice. The manipulator frames their controlling behavior as an act of protection, making it very difficult for you to object without appearing ungrateful or foolish. This tactic works by hijacking the social contract of trust. We are supposed to appreciate people who are trying to help us. For instance, a controlling partner might say, "I'm only telling you not to wear that outfit because I don't want other people to get the wrong impression of you. I'm just looking out for you." This is not an act of care. It is an act of control over your appearance, disguised as protection. The antidote is to separate the stated intention from the actual action and reclaim your autonomy with a firm but polite boundary. You could say, "I appreciate that you feel you're looking out for me, but I am comfortable with my own choices and how I present myself." This acknowledges their stated good intention, but firmly rejects the underlying control. By learning the patterns of these tricks and their antidotes, you can spot them from a mile away and render them useless. The seed of doubt, the shifting goalpost, and the helpful disguise will no longer be invisible weapons, but clear signals that you are dealing with a manipulator, allowing you to remain in full control of your own mind. You can now spot the tricks and get past defenses. You are building a powerful arsenal. But how do you maintain this influence? How do you create a lasting psychological bond that keeps people aligned with you? The final chapter will teach you the art of keeping them under your control. Remember to subscribe to Stealth Psychology, give this video a like, and comment with your personal opinions or suggestions for channel development. Chapter 6. Keeping them under control. Influence that lasts only for a single moment is not true influence. It is merely a spark, a momentary agreement, a fleeting change of heart, a brief flash of inspiration. These are temporary victories that fade as quickly as they appear, like a firework lighting up the night sky only to vanish into smoke. True power is not a spark, it is a steady burning flame. It is the ability to create a lasting psychological bond, a durable and resilient connection that keeps people aligned with you, not just for one decision, but for the long term. How do you create a bond so strong that people not only agree with you once, but willingly and even enthusiastically choose to remain under your spell, looking to you for guidance, validation, and direction? This is the ultimate question for any serious student of psychological influence. The common and painful problem for most is that their influence often has a very short half-life. You might successfully persuade your team to adopt a new, difficult strategy, only to find their motivation and commitment have completely evaporated a week later. You might create a powerful, instant connection with a new acquaintance, only to feel it inexplicably fade over time into polite indifference. This is the immense challenge of maintaining loyalty, trust, and commitment. It is the difficult and sophisticated transition from simply capturing someone's attention to holding it indefinitely. Most people fail at this because they mistakenly believe influence is a one-time event, a single act of brilliant persuasion. They do not understand the subtle, ongoing psychological process required to make it last. The transformative solution is to understand that long-term, sustainable influence is not about force, coercion, or manipulation in the traditional negative sense. It is certainly not about forging literal or metaphorical chains that hold people against their will. The ultimate form of control is to become a center of psychological gravity. Think of the sun. The planets do not stay in its orbit because the sun has lassoed them with a rope or is actively forcing them into submission. They stay because they are consistently and powerfully drawn to its immense, unwavering gravitational pull. You must learn how to become a sun in your social, professional, and personal circles. People do not stay with you because they are forced to. They stay because they are consistently and powerfully drawn to the undeniable value, the sense of security, the positive emotion, and the feeling of purpose that you reliably provide. This is the profound mindset of the gravity of trust. It is the deep understanding that the most powerful spell you can possibly cast is one of consistent, reliable, and deeply desired value. It is about making people want to be in your orbit because their own lives are measurably better, richer, and more meaningful for it. This is the secret to creating psychological bonds that do not break and influence that does not fade with time. To build your own powerful center of psychological gravity, you must understand and skillfully apply 3 fundamental laws. The first is the law of predictable reward, which is a more ethical framing of the powerful psychological principle of intermittent reinforcement. This is one of a handful of the most powerful motivators known to science. After you have established a positive and stable connection with someone, you should not reward their desired behavior, such as loyalty, hard work, or affection every single time it occurs. Instead, you should provide your praise, recognition, or reward on a carefully considered and somewhat unpredictable schedule. This works because the human brain is far more engaged and motivated by the anticipation of a possible reward than by a certain guaranteed one. A reward that is given every time becomes expected, routine, and ultimately loses its emotional impact. A reward that is given unexpectedly, however, creates a powerful surge of positive emotion and a subconscious, dopamine-driven craving to repeat the behavior in hopes of getting that wonderful feeling again. A great leader does not praise every small task an employee completes. Instead, they give meaningful, powerful, and sometimes unexpected praise for moments of true excellence and dedication. This makes their praise highly coveted, deeply meaningful, and incredibly motivating. They have created a system where their team is always striving for excellence, driven by the powerful possibility of earning that valued recognition. The second law is the law of shared secrets, which is the technique of creating what is known as manufactured intimacy. Human beings are tribal creatures, hardwired to feel a powerful bond with people when we believe we share a special connection or a piece of exclusive knowledge that others do not have. You can ethically manufacture this feeling by creating a symbolic cone of silence with another person. This could involve sharing a minor, seemingly personal piece of information that makes them feel like a trusted insider. For example, a manager looking to build deep loyalty with a promising team member might say in a lowered voice, "I probably shouldn't be telling you this, and this stays between us, but I wanted you to know that your name has been coming up in senior-level discussions about future leaders. I'm telling you because I believe in your potential." This small act instantly elevates the employee's sense of importance and creates a powerful secret bond between them and the manager. They feel special, trusted, and informally indebted, which significantly deepens their loyalty and commitment. The third and final law is the law of indispensability. To create a lasting and powerful gravitational pull, you must become the go-to source for something the other person desperately needs but cannot easily or reliably get elsewhere. This could be intellectual validation for the insecure genius, a sense of thrilling adventure for the bored, a feeling of safety and certainty for the anxious, or expert guidance for the ambitious. First, you must use your highly developed observation skills to identify their deepest, most persistent unmet need. Then, you must position yourself as the most reliable, effective, and trustworthy provider of that specific psychological resource. For instance, if you have a friend who is brilliant and creative but deeply insecure about their own talent, you can become indispensable to them by being their most consistent and authentic source of validation. When they succeed, you celebrate their genius. When they doubt themselves, you are the one who reminds them, with specific examples, of their unique strengths. By consistently fulfilling this deep emotional need, you make your presence in their life not just a want, but a psychological necessity. They become powerfully drawn to you because you are the one who makes them feel the way they have always wanted to feel about themselves. You began this journey seeking to understand the hidden forces that shape human behavior, perhaps only to protect yourself from them. Along the way, you have learned not just to see the invisible strings of influence, but how to hold them in your own hands. You have moved from a place of powerlessness to one of profound capability. The knowledge you now possess is a potent tool, but a tool has no morality of its own. Its impact is defined solely by the intent of the hand that wields it. The ultimate test of your mastery will not be in how effectively you can influence others, but in the wisdom and integrity you demonstrate in choosing when, why, and for what purpose you do so. The greatest power is not the ability to control the minds of others, but the discipline to control oneself. It is the conscious choice to use your understanding not to divide, dominate, or diminish, but to connect, to build, to inspire, and to contribute to a better world, one interaction at a time. This is the true path of the master. You have traveled a long and insightful path, from understanding your own vulnerability to recognizing the invisible architecture of influence that surrounds us all. You began as a pawn, moved by forces you could not see, but you have emerged as an architect, capable of designing your own reality. You have learned to forge an awareness shield to see the truth, to wield the tools of persuasion with skill, and most importantly, to calibrate an ethical compass that will guide your every action. The journey of this book was never about learning to control others. It was about achieving the ultimate form of self-mastery. The power to understand human nature is immense, but the wisdom to use that power for connection and growth is true strength. Thank you for dedicating your time and attention to this journey. If this exploration has empowered you, please consider giving this video a like, commenting with your thoughts, and subscribing to Stealth Psychology for more content designed to help you master your mind and your life.